All right, for my money, Dr. Jordan Petersen is probably one of the greatest thinkers alive today. His YouTube videos have been watched by millions, and he tackles topics like identity politics, personal responsibility, being a better man, and the true nature of evil. Earlier this year, Dr. Petersen gave a TV interview, and the topic turned to free speech. It went like this.
Why should your right to freedom of speech trump a trans person's right not to be offended?
Because in order to be able to think, you have to risk being offensive. I mean, look at the conversation we're having right now. You know, like, you're certainly willing to risk offending me in the pursuit of truth. Why should you have the right to do that? It's been rather uncomfortable. That's fine. I think more power to you, as far as I'm concerned.
So you haven't sat there and... I'm just trying to work that out. I mean...
Ha, gotcha.
You have got me. You have got me.
Whoops. All right. That, you got to see the whole, you have to see the whole interview of that. Is hilarious. And what a perfect timing for your book. So I read...
We had it all planned.
Yeah, did you plan that? Did you? She gets part of the royalties? Mm-hmm. There's so many interesting things about the book, but I like the fact that you make me think that there are two versions of me. There's past Greg and present Greg. So present Greg depends on the past. For example, if past Greg wakes up in the morning and decides not to go to the gym, present Greg is really mad because now present Greg has to go. So the secret... the secret of life, no, it's actually the secret of life is you have to do things for future Greg, or else life sucks. Basically, you have a whole chapter on delayed gratification. Have I explained it?
That's pretty good.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I'm impressed.
Yeah. Should I just interview myself now?
Well, you're pretty witty.
But what do you, why is that, you kind of paint that as the linchpin of society's survival, right?
Yeah, well, it's the discovery of the future, delayed gratification, right?
Right.
Human beings invented time or discovered time, and we're about the only animals to really have managed it. Mm-hmm. So we have to sacrifice what's immediately gratifying for the future, and for our future selves, but also for other people.
Right.
But the payoff for that, I think, is not so much happiness, but a sense of deep engagement with your life. Mm-hmm. Now, one of the things that I've been attempting to make clear repeatedly in my YouTube lectures, for example, is that you need a sense of meaning to fortify you against the trouble of life, the suffering of life, and mostly you find that meaning in adopting responsibility, right? And that's not the same as pursuing happiness, or certainly not the same as being impulsive. You find the meaning by taking care of yourself and taking care of your family and taking care of your community, and if you fail to do those things, there's also a big price to be paid that everyone pays. And this seems to be something that we've forgotten. We've forgotten, and we've also failed to teach to young people, as far as I can tell. Yeah. Which is a mystery and a catastrophe at the same time.
Yeah, you know, and basically you say if you want to change your life, essentially the first thing you should do is clean your room, right?
Well, I'm a traditionalist, partly because of my social science training. Like, one of the things I've learned as an active clinician and a social scientist is that most feel-good, large-scale interventions end badly. Like, it's really hard to take a system that's working reasonably well and make it better, but it's easy to take a system that's working reasonably well and make it worse. And so knowing that, and we know that that's the case, that should encourage you to scale back your ambitions. And if you want to make things better, you could start by taking care of things that are within your control, and also doing it in a way that's least likely to cause harm to other people. And so this clean your room idea has become somewhat of an internet meme, but if you try it and try to organize those things right around you, you'll find that it's a lot more difficult and demanding than it looks.
Yeah, it reminds me when I was in college, the people that were the loudest activists, they didn't clean their room. They could change the world, but they couldn't change the toilet roll.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's true. And they wouldn't even pay for the toilet roll. You know, I love this. There's so many good things in here, and I want to talk about the lobsters, because you do a chapter on lobsters, and it really does tell you about the kind of sobering meaning of life, because what exists in lobsters exists in humans, and you could take the leap from there of how it relates to the rise of Christianity in Jesus Christ. Is that fair to say?
That's a tough leap, that last one.
Yeah, well, lobsters, the suffering of lobsters is based on a dominance hierarchy.
Yes.
And the dominance hierarchy exists among humans.
Well, the point that I was trying to make in that chapter, which is the first one among others, is that like the radical leftists have a proclivity to blame hierarchy and inequality on Western culture and capitalism. And look, inequality can be a real problem because people stack up at the bottom, and that can destabilize your entire society. And no one likes poverty. Like, no one's in favor of poverty. But the problem is that the reasons for inequality are much older than human society itself. And so when the radical leftists play their linguistic games, let's say, and blame all of that on capitalism, then they're not treating the problem with its requisite seriousness. Like, we actually don't know what to do about radical inequality. And demolishing the Western system, well, unless you bring everyone down to zero, which is something that's happened before, is not going to address the issue.
Yeah.
And so that was the point that I was making in
with
the
the
first
lobsters. Yeah, because the lobsters exist way before us, and they have inequality, horrible inequality based on dominance hierarchy.
Yeah.
The only reason why I brought up Christianity, and I know we have to go, is because it was a remedy to dealing with the equality. If every individual is seeking truth, that is
your best bet, eh?
Yeah.
Like, your best bet to moving forward through life, despite the fact that it's extraordinarily difficult, is to look clearly at what's in front of you and to tell the truth and to speak the truth. There's an idea, a deep idea that's laid out in the biblical corpus, that the being that you extract from the future, let's say, when you're making your choices, the being that you extract from the future with truth is good. And that's an unbelievably powerful idea. It'd be lovely if that was true. You imagine that the best way to bring the best world into existence is to tell the truth and to live out the truth. I believe that that's the case.
Yeah.
So
there you go. Buy the book. Good book. Great book. Up next, why are there fewer women engineers? Someone should call Amtrak. Thank you. Good job.